Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we delve into the intriguing and tumultuous political landscape of Bangladesh, focusing on the last 48 hours of the country's controversial leader, Sheikh Hasina. We will explore the recent events, the underlying causes, and what the future might hold for Bangladesh. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on global politics. Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh and the leader of the Awami League, has been a dominant force in the country's politics for over a decade. Her tenure has been marked by significant economic growth and development, but also by allegations of authoritarianism, suppression of dissent, and electoral fraud. As her grip on power tightened, the political landscape of Bangladesh became increasingly polarized. To understand the recent events, we need to look back at Sheikh Hasina's political journey and how she rose to power. Sheikh Hasina, daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founding father of Bangladesh, has been a key figure in Bangladeshi politics since the 1980s. Sheikh Hasina first became Prime Minister in 1996, serving until 2001. After a period out of office, she returned to power in 2009 and has remained Prime Minister since then. Her leadership has been marked by efforts to improve infrastructure, education, and healthcare, but also by growing concerns over her increasingly autocratic style of governance. The political climate in Bangladesh has always been turbulent, characterized by intense rivalry between the Awami League, led by Sheikh Hasina, and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, led by Khaleda Zia. This rivalry has often led to violent confrontations and political instability. Over the years, the political landscape has become more volatile, with frequent allegations of corruption, electoral fraud, and human rights abuses. The government's crackdown on dissent has led to widespread criticism, both domestically and internationally. In the months leading up to the recent unrest, Bangladesh witnessed growing discontent among various segments of society. The opposition parties, civil society groups, and ordinary citizens have been vocal about their dissatisfaction with the government's policies and actions. The unrest reached a boiling point when the government announced new measures that were perceived as further restricting political freedoms and civil liberties. This sparked a wave of protests across the country, with people demanding fair elections, the release of political prisoners, and an end to government repression. Detailed breakdown of the last 48 hours. Let's take a closer look at the events that unfolded in the last 48 hours. The protests in Dhaka began peacefully, with thousands of people gathering to voice their demands. However, tensions quickly escalated as police and security forces intervened to disperse the crowds. As the situation deteriorated, clashes broke out between protesters and law enforcement. The police used tear gas, water cannons, and rubber bullets to control the crowds, leading to numerous injuries and arrests. The government's response was swift and severe, with a heavy crackdown on demonstrators. In the midst of the chaos, several opposition leaders were detained, further fueling the anger of the protesters. Reports of human rights abuses and arbitrary arrests began to circulate, drawing widespread condemnation from both local and international observers. Government response. The government's response to the unrest was marked by a firm stance against the protests. Sheikh Hasina addressed the nation, defending her administration's actions and condemning the protests as attempts to destabilize the country. Sheikh Hasina, clip. We will not tolerate any attempts to undermine the stability and progress of our nation. The actions taken by law enforcement are necessary to maintain order and protect our citizens. Despite the government's assertions, the heavy-handed response only intensified the protests. The opposition accused the government of using excessive force and called for international intervention to address the situation. Media and international reactions. The role of the media has been crucial in documenting the events of the last 48 hours. Independent journalists and news outlets faced severe restrictions, with several reporters being detained or harassed. Despite these challenges, many brave journalists continued to report on the ground, providing a crucial window into the unfolding crisis. Internationally, the response has been one of concern and condemnation. Human rights organizations and foreign governments have called for an immediate end to the crackdown and for the government to engage in dialogue with the opposition. To understand Sheikh Hasina's response, we need to analyze her strategy and political motives. Her administration has long been accused of silencing critics and consolidating power through undemocratic means. The recent crackdown appears to be an extension of this approach, aimed at neutralizing any threats to her rule. Sheikh Hasina has always positioned herself as a strong leader, capable of steering Bangladesh through challenging times. However, her methods have raised serious questions about the state of democracy in the country. The latest events indicate a desperate attempt to maintain control, even at the cost of civil liberties. With the situation escalating, the future of Bangladesh hangs in the balance. Several scenarios could unfold in the coming days and weeks. First, there could be a negotiated settlement between the government and the opposition, leading to a more inclusive political process. This would require significant concessions from Sheikh Hasina and a commitment to democratic reforms. Such a settlement could pave the way for fair elections and the release of political prisoners, restoring some degree of stability and confidence in the political system. Second, continued unrest could result in a protracted conflict, further destabilizing the country. This would have severe implications for Bangladesh's economy and social fabric. A prolonged conflict could lead to increased violence, further human rights abuses, and a deepening divide within society. The economic consequences could be dire, with potential impacts on trade, investment, and development. Lastly, international intervention might play a crucial role in mediating the crisis. Diplomatic pressure and potential sanctions could force the government to reconsider its stance. International actors, including the United Nations and influential countries, could facilitate dialogue between the government and the opposition, helping to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. The last 48 hours have undoubtedly been critical for Bangladesh and its future trajectory. The actions of Sheikh Hasina and her government in the coming days will be pivotal in shaping the country's democratic landscape. As global citizens, it is essential to stay informed and support the call for democracy and human rights.